Alrighty, it is mid-September, and there's still a little white butterfly. God, I hate them. Anyway, Pondless Waterfall is basically done. I am taking the old fire pit, turning it into a planter for rosemary and lavender, so amending it, the potting soil heavily with extra perlite and sand to give good drainage for the Mediterranean plants. They should like being in a hot pot, so that's my goal. This evening will be the inaugural event, or at least the first event, with the new fire pit. It is not great. I did not go for a solo stove. I was going to build my own smokeless fire pit, but then I decided there was one on sale with Lowe's. I'd give it a shot first. I can always build, a structure around it if I like it. Oh, and we've got buzzards. Anyway, so that's basically done. I'm very happy with the stream. Good sound. Dogs love it. Wildlife loves it. We've got a couple of frogs or toads or something that hang out in there. And once again, the buzzard. If I caught it in the view, I don't know. He's circling around. Seriously, there's nothing here for you. But anyway, so the garden is still going strong. Surprisingly, we are going to get into like 49, 50 degrees overnight, a couple nights next week. So I've already started to set up what I'm going to do with the green tomatoes to bring them in. Probably will do that at some point next week, start to bring some in. The tests so far have gone well. Japanese maples seem happy. I did a large pot planter with some native plants, including hyssop and chicory. And I love the look of chicory on the side of the road, the purple flowers. And a bee just popped in there to forage a little more. So we'll see how it goes. I did not expect the leaf growth to be so significant on them, but they're natives and the perennials, and I'll just keep an eye on them. But I'm going to move it farther out so that I get a little more pollination in the far areas. Hasscaps are doing well. All four of them are putting on some nice growth. I did treat them with a little bit of iron. They look like they had a bit of a deficiency, so keeping an eye on them. I'll swing over to the pollinator bed. It's pretty happy. I am going to take the lavender out of here because, quite frankly, I'm surprised that even the ones that are in there have lived, because it gets way too much water for them. But I'm going to try to collect seeds from the Stokesia, the Stokes aster, to see if I can't propagate that and get more of those, because that's pretty much my favorite perennial flowering thing going on right now. Obviously, the butterfly bushes have done very well. The hyssop in there has gone to seed. And I have a few things in here of interest. Finally, the Pesto Basil is looking good now that it's about to die. But this is exciting because this is a self-seeded type of hyssop that is over here. And that's really what I wanted to have happen in here. And again, it's even too wet for the yarrow, so I'm probably going to pull that out. I have some new growth at the base. It's just too wet for it in there. So I'm going to be shifting some things around in there. The yarrow might come to the front, taking the place of the lavenders, because I'm amazed they've hung on this long. But all those lavenders are going to get transported into that new fire pit planter that I've got set up. And I am going to start learning about Chelsea chops next year to deal with Joe Pye, because it was huge and a beast and a bully, and I'm not having it. It really pushed around the coneflowers and stuff. So if I can't figure out a way to tame it, it's gone. Anyway, and then that rosemary is going to join the lavenders because it's not really happy either. The chives that I neglected, and basically I was letting them die in the pot because I dealt with aphids and they were so awful. I'm like, screw it, I'll start over. They're back without aphids. Yay! So learning for next year. I have not watered the lavender at all. And ironically, there's one in the front that appears to have a little bit too much water. I'm assuming from the rains it kind of came forward and it got a touch. But Lavender's happy, butterfly bushes are up. I'm probably not going to do the Suncredible, the sunflower from Proven Winners next year. I'm going to try some different things. I'm also going to try the Chelsea chop on my Helianthus. It's a late bloomer, and I've got a ton of blooms coming, but it's huge, and I would like it to be a little more manageable. Of course, if I don't have the Suncredible, then it might be fine in that state, because it certainly is a late bloomer that is good for the pollinators. So I'm figuring out what I'm going to do with this one. It might be a succession planting of these dwarf sunflowers that I'll show in a minute, because I'm pleased. And they're multi-headed. They have multiple blooms on each stalk, so that could fulfill my yellow need behind the lavender and the butterfly bushes. I'm going to overwinter the 2 Millionaires. The hummingbirds have loved them, and I still have hummingbirds coming. You may hear one in a minute. Happy with the sage. It's done well. My annuals with the marigolds and the borage. The borage is pretty much fizzled out at this point, but the marigolds are on strong, and sadly they're self-seeding, so have to deal with those. The experiment with the strawberries has gone well. The bed is still producing, and then my pseudo towers are doing well. I think I just heard a hummingbird. The grapes had done really well. The birds went to town on them. I'm going to extend this down the fence line so that I provide a little bit of shade to the west, because the west sun on this side is brutal, even with sun lovers. So I'm going to try to be a little kinder to them. I've got a couple of honey nut butternut squashes coming on, if I can see it in there. But I've got one that I'm ready to harvest. It's nice and hard. I'll do that later on today. Cucumber beetles have been my nemesis. I managed the squash bugs, but and I did not have any vine borers, but cucumber beetles. Oh. Anyway, but I don't want to spray if I don't have to. So calendulas have done very well. Because I'm battling the Harlequin bugs in the other bed, I put in a new seeding of kale that's coming up nicely. And again, here are the petite and multi-headed sunflowers. There's a whole bunch in there. I love it. So this is my first year trying it. I have a friend Julie, who loves to grow sunflowers, and she has like every variety you can think of. I'm in a more controlled state. They did very well in this raised bed, and as you can see, they're petite. And yeah, I could see succession planting seeds all summer instead of the Suncredibles, and would be quite happy with that. I don't know if you can see, I've got bees buzzing around the sage and the lavender bed with a few new stalks that have come up, and very happy for the pollinators. I've sown more beets, 3 rows of Detroit Reds and 1 row of Golden. Goldens are still, they're not the best at coming up. The Detroit Reds are just, knocking it out of the park. And then I think I have 1 row of mixed that was actually literally came as a mix of reds. New thing of carrots, older thing of carrots. Had a little bit of issue at one point. I don't know if it was slugs or what, but something took out that little section. But that's okay. I'm all good with that. I have had quite the succession of black swallowtail caterpillars. It's amazing that the celery has rebounded this much. I've still got 2 in there that suffered most recent damage, but they'll be back in, God, a week if everything holds like it's been doing. And again, it's really in there for the caterpillars more than anything. A few more things of calendula there. My old thing of carrots that I have had caterpillars. I harvested a little bit, and then I noticed, black swallowtail caterpillars on them, so I just left them. One has gone to flower and seed. That's fine. I can always. All of these that I planted were from seeds I gathered last year, so sure, I'm learning. This is the loofah jungle. Never plant loofah. If you do, only one. I seed started 3 last winter. They didn't look like they were going to do anything. They looked horrible. So I put 3 direct sown seeds in with them, and the direct sown took off. Eventually, the 3 that I had started and put in as seedlings also took off. So I have a jungle that I cut back every weekend of loofah, trying to take over everything. So if you plant loofah, one. And it might be advantageous to plant it with cucumber to shield the cucumber a bit from hard sun. But they are growing in everything. They're growing in the tomatoes, I cut them off of the eggplants, I cut them off of everything. And I've taken to just cutting the leaves because they want to lengthen their vine, and then I'm stopping them just shading the tomatoes, because you need sun for tomatoes to actually ripen. But my God, no. Unless you have got a huge trellis and you can't even imagine what you want to do with it, do not plant loofah. Anyway, I pulled out the cucumbers that were in here. I put in 2 new seeds just to see how late it could do something. This one has actually thrown up a flower. So, who knows. I am kind of done with cucumbers, though. I OD'd on them this year. And, I don't even want them in smoothies at this point. So, and then these are the carrots that I sowed, March, maybe April. So, and they have been eaten up by the swallowtail caterpillars as well. But they're rebounding. Who knows? I will harvest them after the first frost. Obviously there will be no caterpillars on them then. So we'll see. And I threw in a sweet potato that had started to grow eyes. So who knows what it will do. But Liz and her husband and the kids are coming over, and we are going to harvest seeds later on today. These are perpetual spinach, and I have a lot of seed that has been drying under the deck that it's just going to be a seed day. So I have been battling Harlequin bugs. They are disgusting. I'm standing on the Harlequin Bug Graveyard because every day I come out and I squish and I step and I kill, and I think I'm finally starting to win the battle. They're looking better, but sadly there are some white butterflies still around, so I may have to battle a little bit of cabbage looper in a bit, but Jesus, Harlequin bugs are awful. So I now know when they are small, they look like maybe a faded ladybug. They are not a beneficial. So it's again, this is learning. I'm learning. So next year, I will be more prepared. One thing that makes me happy is I have got a, hopefully I can actually zoom in and see it. I do have a praying mantis egg sac in here. So yay, at least one. There may be another one in there somewhere. And I will eventually move it to a safer place, because once I know the praying mantis is done, I will then protect the egg sac, and I'm spray this hard with Captain Jack's and then BT to try to take out what I can. And if you want to know, this is an adult. I can zoom in on it. Moving around in there. Wow, it's hard to tell if I'm on it or not. I think there he is. That is a Harlequin bug. God, I hate them. And I saw another one a moment ago. That's an adult. It's distinctive. When it's small, it's spotted. Spotted a little bit like it were a ladybug, which is why gardeners don't always kill them instantly, because we don't realize the evil beings have entered our garden. Parsnips that have gone to seed, I need to collect seed. That will be part of today as well. I sowed buttercrutch leaf lettuce from seeds I had gathered last year. I gathered some more this year. They're all very pretty. I love them. Not everything came up. I a little bit of slug issue in here, so I have done bug and slug trying to counteract that. And I may sow a little more, but yeah, love that. And I did actually put in some brassicas, but again, slugs. So I spritzed, oh my, I've got amaranth coming up, which is not a good thing because that's not what I want in here. Obviously, the amaranth is going to seed. As I said before, we're harvesting seeds today. So, do I know what I'm doing with amaranth? No. But they're really pretty, and I'm always going to grow them, and then eventually I'll learn what to do. So anyway, like I said, that's the back side. I am going to put in 3 more beds like this that are 16 by 4, and they will 1, 2, and 3, which will still give me plenty of room to get in and out of the garden with the Kubota through the gate. And then I can rotate all of the non-pollinators. I'm going to be putting the garlic in that bed this year. Once I get the parsnips out and seed, that will be a whole little garlic section. And so going forward, I will have a better rotational plan. But I've always grown my garlic in the grow bags because I didn't want to take up valuable raised bed space. But that will be a good plan going forward. So anyway, I have grown, and this is interesting, peanuts. Is it worth it? Absolutely not. But I ordered some and I thought, why not? And so I did. And I actually do have peanuts. Not many, but it was a corner I wasn't using anyway. The Asian eggplant is producing once again. I'm sure that Liz and her family will take some home, and what doesn't get taken, I'll take into work for Mike next week. The Turkish is done. Those are the cute little orange ones from last time, but you know, they're spent. And I have had flea beetle and blight beetle, I think it is, that have been attacking the eggplants, which is fine. It doesn't impact the flowers and the production of veg or fruit, depending on what you want to call these. It just tears the crap out of the leaves. I don't care. They're not bothering anything else in the garden. Have at it. Loofah. It's everywhere. Oh, I'll show you inside. It's just taking over. I am battling, oh my God, I hate them, armyworms. And there's nothing I can do about that. I will get better at it next year, but everything is, oh, there's a really big praying mantis. Hi, hello. Are you ready for your close-up? Yeah. So I have lovely beneficials, and I know he's a Chinese praying mantis, but he's better than no praying mantis at all. So, meh. Anyway, so the loofahs are awful. The tomatoes have sprawled. It's hard to get to the bell peppers, and they're not getting the sun they need. Next year, what is condensed in this L will be spread out throughout the entire square. That's all I can say about that. Again, armyworms. Ugh. But the tomatoes are still producing. Some of them are cracking and getting attacked by other stuff. I just stepped on one. But yeah, so over the next week, I'm going to start harvesting hard, cutting it back, wrapping the green ones up in newspaper and putting them in cardboard boxes. And some of them I will stick an apple in and let them ripen slowly over time. And then we have the inner garden. Todd is not good about collecting his beans, so we'll have a new plan for next year. But they have continued to produce. They're cute and adorable. They're everywhere. They've gone into the tomatoes as well, so can't tell you how many are in the jungle. But they've done well, I threw a few ginger in here and some calendula. They're fine. And then, like I said, the loofahs, oh my God, they're even reaching over to that. Tomatoes are happy. They're still just going like gangbusters. Eventually it will stop. I now have a low bridge that I have to go under to get to the backside, and of course loofahs. From down here you can see the denseness and the lack of light on all of the bell peppers, and you can see the loofahs that have invaded that space too. So yeah, so that is lesson learned for next year. Oh my God, they're even in there. Okay, that was fun. If you're claustrophobic, you cannot come into my garden. But I still have lots of tomatoes coming. I have to say, Mortgage Lifter has been the star of the show this year. Still producing lovely, big, large tomatoes. I do have some beefsteaks in the back. I've still got the golden up front. Of course, the sweet cherries. Only put in one. I put in two, and you can't keep up with it. At some point, I just gave up, and they're just literally fermenting on the vine. And then I do have some big rainbows and loofahs that are coming on. So it's been a good run of tomatoes. I can't complain about that at all. You know, you see them there. Quite happy. More nasturtiums. I have learned the nasturtiums I probably need to interplant with cucumbers, more calendula. And as you can see, this was one of the vines that popped out last weekend after I had finished trimming back. And so it's just making its way. I can't wait for that to end. Anyway, so that's basically where the garden is right now. Like I said, I'm pleased how everything else is coming along. I'm pleased with the pondless waterfall. I think I'm going to take that monolith down about 4 inches. It'll put the pump for it at a better height, but it's doing well. I had to do a really hard eco blast this past week. With the 90-degree weather that hit us again, I had like an algae bloom that I needed to counteract. So that's doing well. Like I said, this is the new little pollinator planter I did. I need to. Well, I'm okay if the amaranth like falls in there, and maybe I get a few volunteers next year, but that needs to go too, because the base of that is actually going to go into the fire pit planter I'm doing. And then there is the new fire pit area. Todd doesn't love it. It's too much gravel and too many chairs. But, you know, when you have more than one couple over, you need more than 4 chairs. So, yeah. And those were the outdoor bar stools that I reclaimed, painted, and I wove on the seating for them so you could actually sit on them. And then, as you can see, I have some seed stalks that have been drying. I'm looking at pak choi there, and on the other side I've got kale and lettuce and something else right now. I'm going blank at the moment. And the citrus is doing well. The ginger under there is doing well. I may experiment. I've still got a tomato plant that I never put in the ground. It was my, oh my gosh, if I lose something because of whatever, I can throw one in. I think I'm going to put him in the empty gray pot that I have under there and just see if tomatoes will live in the orangery this winter and produce anything. Who knows? They might. And I have the firewood stacked up. It's actually on a rolling cart that if we needed to pull it out to like restack or whatever, we could bring it over to the edge of this so that we could load from the Kubota bucket. But yeah, it's coming together. It's a nice little fall. No apples on those apple trees. I do have apples on the 3 on the other side that'll be moved over this fall inside the protected deer fencing. But it's been a successful year too in the garden. So anyway, we'll see how things are going. Did I say it's the middle of August? It's the middle of September. I don't know. The world has been crazy for a while and I've lost track of time. But I'll see how things do come October and figure out sort of the plan for the tomatoes for next year and pulling everything out. And then over the winter, I'll kind of keep a log on how the green tomatoes are actually ripening with that newspaper wrap inside of a cardboard box method. So, alrighty, talk to you later.